Good morning. It's a dreary day in New York and promises to be continuing this way. And I imagine in many of your lives, they're fairly dreary as well. According to the local newspapers, our misery index, which is what we can afford as individuals, it used to be 36% of New York City citizens couldn't pay for rent, they couldn't pay for food, they couldn't pay for transportation, and they probably had difficulty paying for health insurance as well. Now, this year, that figure has risen to 50%. 50% of New York City residents cannot afford food, medical insurance, transportation, etc., etc., etc. That means a lot of us are pretty miserable. And I know when folks say to me, we're entering into a recession, no, we're not entering into it. We've never gotten out of it. And I know at least 3 people who are overburdened with either feeling unhealthy because they've put down too much investment into work. They're working 2 jobs, 7 days a week, and they're winding up as young people, 50 years old, unable to work anymore. I know young people who are entering medical school and are looking at $83,000 a year in debt. And I have one person who's most dear to me who finds it impossible to get a job. Why? Because he's in his 50s and he's a professional IT person. He knows networking, project management, and hardware. You'd think that these would be valuable commodities. Unfortunately, industry hires the young. The algorithms that substitute for HR, they scan for ageism. They scan for gender. They scan for race. And if you don't match their criteria, or if you don't punch the right generic buttons for that job, you're going to be excluded. Just like government. One has to wonder, why isn't government functioning to the level it could be functioning? We're paying those guys and women a hell of a lot of money. But then their staff is made up solely of young people. The experts are no longer there. You don't have the guidance and the knowledge base that would help the young people thrive and continue in either the government environment or the business environment. I know that when you're miserable and you're overwhelmed, thinking about politics is probably the farthest from your mind. Participating in rallies to shut down Rikers Island or look into bail reform. You don't have the time to think about that if you're working 2-3 jobs and you can't make ends meet. And 50% of us can't make ends meet. Elizabeth Warren said several years ago, probably pre-pandemic, that the actual living wage at the time was probably closer to $22 an hour. Folks are still stuck at $2.18 if they're going to be tipped, and at $7 to $15 if they're not. It's way too low. not with inflation, not when we have monopolies who are controlling their profit structure and really don't give a darn about labor. When government and the corporation work seamlessly together, we, the people, are no longer the constituents. And it's a darn shame because we're not even seen. There have been 2 cases now in major positions of authority, the EPA and the FDA. They negotiate the fees that they need to survive for the year with the corporations. That's not how it's done in business. I know. When I was at Bankers Trust, we had a lot of clients who were real big, states, countries, and we did a lot of services for nothing. I instituted a fee system so that every time we did reports, we used the copy machine, whatever we did for that state or country or mega international business, we charged for it. Did I ask the country if that was sufficient, if they agreed with that fee structure? No, I didn't ask them. I knew what our needs were, and I knew that our payments had to be met. We were doing a fee for service. That's what the FDA is doing. That's what EPA is doing. That's what the NLRB is doing. Thousands of people are needed to be in the government environment, and thousands are needed and should be utilized from folks here in this country because they're not working and they're a little older and they've got the expertise and knowledge to help make the legislation that the Congress legislators need, because they are mostly ignorant of the technology, and our laws are very far behind the times. We can do it, but we need a revolution. A revolution not like the insurrection of 1/6. No, sirree, we don't need an armed revolution. We need a revolution in thought. Probably we should be getting rid of primaries. They're not structured to allow good candidates to get into government. No, they're totally for the benefit of the 2 surviving parties, the parties who are making us divided as a nation, the news channels that are dividing us as a nation, like Fox News. Those guys are the guys and some women who should be on notice. We should be taking away money from politicians. It should be everyone pitches in $1 to $5. That's how much the campaign costs. Everyone starts running at the same time, gets the same airtime all over, and that's the end of it. We don't need oligarchs anymore getting the candidate of their choice into office so that they have bought and paid for them 100%. And it appears they do their bidding. We see it on the Supreme Court. We see it on the deadlock in Congress. We see it when we want to get rid of toxins in our water, and the EPA is too cozy with Monsanto and BASF to eliminate those toxins. We see it with FDA, though they don't even have the manpower to do the inspections that they need to do. It's too cozy with business. Capitalism can work with democracy, but democracy is something we should all be striving for by itself, with regulations that are dispassionate, that have no hatred attached to them, no vengefulness attached to them, but regulations that benefit the greater good. Maimonides said, if you believe in God, and Moses questioned God and wanted to know how he could know God and what his attributes were, and God answered him in his own way and said, I am merciful. I believe in charity. I believe in compassion. But woe to those who follow false idols and do not believe in me and have vengeance in their heart and hatred in their heart. They do not represent my will. So when you hear about people exercising their better angels and people speaking truth, those people really have God in their hearts, because God is everywhere. And he would want us, or she, to act in the appropriate manner. And it's interesting, even abortion is covered in the book of Moses. Even that, because God says that he blesses every embryo, but in addition, he blesses the families and the people who brought that embryo into existence. You can't advocate for the life of an embryo and not be prepared to help the families with education, with childcare, and with health care. Because then, according to Maimonides, as a government entity or as a representative of local government, you're not doing your job. If you care about people, and God said that the highest calling was the calling of the intellect to government, to do what is right for the greatest number, then you must think about who are really your constituents. It's we, the people. And since all the roots of all of our religions stem from Judaism, well, read up on Moses again and his discussions with God, because abortion indirectly is covered in it. So I don't think anyone should be self-righteous about that. The only sin is the sin of idolatry. These are simple facts, folks. I've been touched this week by many who have been suffering because they can't afford to survive in the city of New York. Guess what? If we had better government, we could all survive and thrive. They're doing it in Detroit. They're doing it in Oregon. They're attempting to do it in California. We just need to think smarter and stop looking at the almighty dollar coming from a limited number of oligarchs. It can be done. It's been done before. So take heart. And now that I know that I am really A-OK, I'm going to get into politics. And I hope you're going to support me and help me decide how high should I climb that ladder, that political ladder. I'm not a politician, but I'm a darn good saleswoman for issues and people I believe in. Thank you, and have a lovely day.